Well, classy crew, I finished high rank in Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. If we don't count the pickle, because after all, is he really a monster? He's more like part of the scenery more than anything. Pidgey hunts. Welcome back, classy crew, to another Monster Hunter Journal as I journey through Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, seeking to kill all the monsters. Last time I left you, there were 19. Now there are 15. And I've rolled credits on high rank, which means I am technically, I think, 2/3 of the way through this game. Now we just got to get through its Iceborne version of it, and we will be done with this generation. So I really look forward to seeing what the remainder of these monsters are, because so here's what I killed this past week, and then I'm going to speculate a little bit on what's left. So there were a lot of subspecies, I think we call them. We had Black Diablos, Steel Uragan, Glacial Agnator, Ivory Laggy. They have all died. They have all been hunted, and their tails are now on my tail wall. So that brings us to 15. And out of those 15, I know I still have to kill Jan Moran and Devil Joe. So that takes me down to 13 monsters. There are 13 monsters in this game, and I don't know what they are. I know Alatreon's in this game, and I know there's that other black dragon that's in the intro cutscene. And I'm not going to start speculating on what all the other monsters are, because that could take a while. But there's a good dozen that I just don't know what they are. So I'm excited to meet some new friends. So let's get started. In typical Hey J foolery, I was really hyped and excited for the stream. And I jumped into the Black Diablos quest without eating. No, I jumped into the Black Diablos quest without any cool drinks, or maybe it was hot drinks. I forget what time of day it was. So I walked in there. I was like, oh, I cannot do this. I'm not going to do this without my drink. So I abandoned the quest. And then I was all like, oh, man, that's embarrassing, right, chat? Haha, that's bad. And then I go back in the quest and I forget to eat. I'm just like, oh, my God, what is wrong with me? So I think I forgot to stock up on my items as well as forgetting to eat. It was just embarrassing. And so the Black Diablos I was like, oh, whatever. We'll just make the best of it. So I didn't have any skill. And I went after this thing, and my goodness, this thing is aggressive. Like, it is so fast. It's just like, I'm in the ground, I'm out the ground, I'm in your face, I'm in your back, I'm on all your faces. It slaps so hard, and not like in a good way. So I'm just like, let's just do my best shot. I'll dodge what I can, and I'll swing at what I can. And for 30 minutes, I was just going through all my potion supplies. I think I was getting to the point where, yeah, the supplies came back. I went to the box to loot the supplies. Like, I literally used everything the game gave me without properly preparing. And around that time, the tail flew off, the horn flew off. I was like, oh my God, am I actually going to break this thing? And it started limping, and I was like, oh, and it went to sleep. And I had tranquilizer bombs, but I didn't have traps. I was like, oh, why am I such an unprepared hunter? This could be done right now. But no, I got to be in a stressful position instead. So I booped it on the snoot, and I slashed it a few more times, and it died. I was like, man, that was a very close fight. I guess I do it for the theatrics, but they're accidental theatrics. I do not plan for these things to happen. So with Black Diablos out of the way, I went after the Steel Uragan, which I have to say, I don't know why this creature exists. It doesn't really do anything different than Uragan. It looks better than Uragan. If anything, I would say get rid of Uragan, keep Steel Uragan, and give me some armor that shimmers the way Steel Uragan's skin shimmers. I think the main difference between these two is he farts more. So it's the first time I used deodorant. Let's not quote that out of context, because I know editor will. But yeah, I was dropping deodorant everywhere because I just kept falling in this guy's fart cloud. And it was really unpleasant. But for the most part, it was swing, and kill, which is kind of a problem with 3 Ultimate. I'm going to throw some criticism in 3 Ultimate's direction soon. Then we went to Glacial Agnator, and I love Agnator. And for some reason, I'm more of an ice guy. See my sweetheart Velcana. So I did like the Glacial Agnator design better. What I didn't like is how much he messed with my stamina. Now, to be fair, I could enjoy this fight a lot more simply by building an armor set that gives me like ice resist and all the things that doesn't hurt my stamina. But for the most part, yeah, it was just fun. And since I used the sword on my switch axe, I could get through his ice chunks. But otherwise, if I tried to use my axe, I was just... So I could imagine if you don't have Mind's Eye on your weapon, it could be a huge pain to fight him. Otherwise, he's cool. If you know what I mean. He's cool looking. I like him. And that's all unlocked, finally. The Ivory Laggy, which I did not realize was the fight before the end credits. I don't know what I thought the end credit, like the fight for the end credits would be. But this was really anticlimactic. More criticism. I'm going to throw some criticism on this game. So the Ivory Laggy was built up as this big, like, terror of the sea. And I was really fearful of the original Laggy. It also is the only monster that made me completely fail a quest on my journey so far. So to face an Ivory Laggy, I was like, oh my goodness, what could it possibly be? How terrifying could it be? And they're like, it's the master of the land and the sea. Like, they really built up a legend. So I go on the deserted island and I go right to the water. I was like, all right, where are you, Ivory Laggy? He's nowhere in the water. I was like, what? So then I go back into the caves and there he is on land. He's like, what's up, bro? And so I start pounding on this thing, and it was a way more fun fight than Laggy. And this is purely because I improved as a hunter and my skill was a lot better. But for the most part, 90% of the fight was on land, which is what made it easier because I struggle with Laggy underwater. And I don't know why he didn't go underwater. So it made the fight a lot more fun because as much as I like to say, yeah, water fight has a place in Monster Hunter, it's still more fun to fight monsters on land. And I was so on top of everything. We got him into his cave where he wasn't asleep, but he ran back to his cave. And I was like, all right, I'm going to style in this guy and we're going to finish him off with a nice like invasion sensation in the face or something. And this is where I got taught a lesson in humility, which I never actually learned. So it was more like it was presented to me, but I'm not sure I absorbed it. And I carded because I even called it. I was like, watch, this is going to make me cart, but I'm going to style on this guy. And I just went for it. And he sent me back to base, and then I went back and I had to finish him off underwater, which stressed me because then he was really like starting to turn the tide around me. All these puns. But I ended up killing him, and then we got credits. I was like, oh, that's the end of High Rank. That's technically the end of the story. Wow. What was the story? This game really like has no story. They all built it up after like the story transformed, but in a really disconnected way. At first it's like save our village, stop the earthquakes, replenish the mask of these kids. And I'm like, what? And then it's just so weird. And the credits had this like fantastic music, and it unlocked another like credit scene for some reason about the kids just like doing their antics and that like really epic music playing, like chanting. And I'm just so confused. I was like, none of this is really fulfilling from a story point. Like, it's not like Monster Hunter World where you're like, oh, we saved everybody and we're all like celebrating and there's this like amazing music happening. It's not even like Rise, which as much as we like to throw shade at Rise, that credit scroll, like it felt like okay, I saved the village and now the maiden's singing. Like that's climactic. That's good. Here, the singing was disconnected from like the visuals we're seeing, and it was just like, yeah, the end of this like errant hunter, which isn't epic or anything. He just defended his village, is over. And I'm just like, I feel like it could have been more. So the other criticism I want to throw at the game is you'll probably notice that I've been going through the last few monsters fairly easily, and it's because there's a pattern to it. Because the game has more limited mechanics, you can say the design of the fight was more intentional. But the downside is once you figure out the pattern of how to fight a monster in 3 Ultimate with your weapon, it's rinse and repeat. You find the blind spot. In my case, I find the blind spot. I pull out my sword, whoosh, whoosh, dodge, whoosh, whoosh, dodge, go back to the blind spot. And it's just step and repeat. You don't have as much room for styling. There's not as much room for maneuverability like in World or Rise, where they've really like fleshed out the weapon set and what you can do with it. And so I feel like every new target that was provided, it was cool to see it move. But ultimately, after 5 minutes, I'm just like, okay, here are the openings. Here is where it attacks. I just have to be here, and I just have to do my 3-move combo on repeat. And to some extent, that got a little stale. If anything, it's the fights where I went in unprepared that were a lot more chaotic and kind of fun in some ways, because I didn't know how it was going to go, and I was playing with a handicap, essentially. So, yeah, I'm just going to say, like, I do like the intentional design of the combat in 3U, but And maybe it's because I'm using the Slime Axe. I don't know. I don't think so, because it was starting to do this before I got the Slime Axe anyways. It's just there's less moves to do, and so your experiences can only be so diverse. Now, with the remaining monsters, Devil Joe terrifies me. I haven't actually tried hunting him once yet, so this is probably a monster that will break my pattern and that I will have to learn how to play on a whole different level. He really terrifies me. I expect to cart a lot to this thing. And I heard that there is a monster that unlocks after you complete all the village quests, and I may have heard which monster this is. It's a certain black dragon that is my friend. If this is the case, and there is a high rank Alatreon, I'm going to attempt to unlock him so I can fight him. But otherwise, G rank lays ahead, and I have a lot of new monsters to hunt down and discover. So multiplayer is going to be open as we kind of open and unlock things so that I can go after the G rank monsters. I will attempt them solo. And if for whatever reason I eventually deem them impossible solo, but I already don't know it's possible because other people have done it. So I will be attempting the final few monsters solo in G rank, which is not advised, but we will see how far I get. So join me for that next journal or for the next stream whenever, wherever you may find me. And until next time, keep it classy. Subscribe.